Alright, so a new structure deck came out this week. We have quite a few spicy decks to talk about, including a few new Synchron decks, so we'll go ahead and jump straight into it. We have another Crystal Beast hybrid here. We've had a couple of these on this channel in the last couple of months. This time it's Valkyries that we're mixing in with the Crystal Beast, and there's a bit of synergy here also. So the Crystal Beast is kind of the same. Whenever they die, they get set up in the as face-up continuous spells instead of going to the graveyard. And then once they're there, you can take advantage of them. Rare Value lets you draw cards. Carbuncle can special summon them out of the spell and trap zone, so on and so forth. But another thing you can do with the Valkyries is Synchron can send any face-up spell in your continuous spell you have to the graveyard to special summon herself, and then you can special summon a Valkyrie from your hand to the graveyard. So it's a little bit of added synergy there between the Valkyries, gives her extra options. And with Transcendent Crystals, at any point in the game, on any turn, you can send a Crystal Beast or a card from your hand to the graveyard to put a Crystal Beast face up in your spell or trap zone. So your Synchron is always going to be live. As long as you have another card in your hand to discard for her, you're always going to have her active and live and be able to get her out onto the board. So it's a really consistent way to get Valkyries going, to be able to always have that Synchron be live, and to still take advantage of all the other Crystal Beast stuff that they can do as well. So pretty neat take on the deck. Really like Valkyries, and I'm glad to see people finding ways to experiment with them still and make them useful at this point. Next we have another Dino deck. This is from the same player. Dairo is added again. I've had a few of his dinosaur decks on this channel. This one's taking advantage of the Zexal Weapon skill, the new a skill that Yuma has that lets you add any ZW to your hand at the beginning of your turn and then special summon it to the board. So it's kind of the same strategy. The rest of it is what we've seen from Dinos in the past. You send your Mist to the graveyard, banish stuff. Tyranno Infinity can then hit the board. It gets 1,000 attack for each dinosaur has been banished, so you can easily get up to 6, 7, 8,000 attack points with that thing. You basically just, like I said, want to dump your dinosaurs in the grave as quick as possible for the misc play. Giant Rex, when he gets banished, summons to the board, and then Survival's End can of course punish Blue Eyes players really badly, and also just does a lot of really neat things when you send it to the graveyard. Be able to blow up your Babysaurus, summoning more dinosaurs while removing your opponent's threats. This deck has a lot of really nasty things it can do. I actually enjoy playing with this deck a lot. Gonna have to do a video on one of these dinosaur decks here soon, because this is a deck that I actually really enjoy playing with. You can also see with the extra deck here, we are able to take advantage of the Cyber Lady, the new Cyber Harpy Lady Synchro monster. It's very generic, you know, any level 8 deck can be able to make it. So and you can see also the level 4 toolbox here, the rank 4 toolbox I should say, for the XYZs, even having 2 more in the side deck. So just lots of options you can go for with this deck, lots of things you can do with dinosaurs here to really go after opponents, and again, managing to win the meta frequently this week. So congratulations to Dairo on doing that. Alright, so we have a King of Games deck here from 6 Eyes. This is an invoked heiratic deck. So the big thing we have here we have this Gren Maju Gazaret monster thing, this big old level 8 dark monster. Or I think it's like a take on like an old card or something like that, or like one of those like newer versions of one. But basically you contribute any number of monsters to summon it, and then it gains attack equal to the monsters that you attributed, which lets you obviously trigger all the effects of your heiratic monsters. And it's also a level 8 for you to go into either rank 8 play into the heiratic Sun Dragon, or to go into other synchro plays. We're also running this kind of like one of those, like, I forget what its name is. I had to look it up earlier. It's like the Zolkin. But basically, you get 2 level 8 her monsters on the board, a tuner and a non-tuner. Then you can synchro into this. Or it's actually not a synchro. It's actually just a special summon. It doesn't have a level at all. It gains like 1,000 attack for every monster on the board. You can special summon a token on each side of the board for it, and just give it a bunch of attack points. So, yeah, I've never even seen that card before. I completely had to look it up. I had no idea what it did. But yeah, no, it's kind of, other than that, you're just kind of doing some of the other heiratic stuff. You're focusing more on the synchro engine here and not making the rank 6 plays, but you're doing the same thing. You're just bringing out all the heiratics. But instead of, like I said, going for level 6s, you're also going to bring out Flamville Guard instead, synchro summon, and that puts your fire monster in the graveyard for the Alice or for the invoke plays. So different take on heratics. Like to see a deck that I kind of feel like has underperformed, or kind of wanted to see more of when it came in the Duel Links, but a bit of disappointment. But this isn't disappointing. I am really happy to see Beast decks come to the front. This is a King of Game decks from JCD. We have Racoons. So the XYZ monster here, when you summon it, you can basically bring out a little token, detached, bring out a token, and that token gains attack points equal to the highest attack monster on the board. which is good because it lets you obviously trade out or you know, stand up to any, you know, whatever threat your opponent might have on the field. But while that token's on the board, this monster can't be destroyed by card effects. So you're going to try to then do Needle Sealing or Super Rush recklessly. Needle Sealing obviously can blow up the board when you have 4 face up or 4 monsters or more. And then Super Rush recklessly actually lets you destroy a beast monster and then send an opponent's card on their field back into their deck. And obviously, if it can be destroyed by card effects, you're not going to lose that on your beast monster. So really powerful removal card there. And it's really easy to make this as well. Any 2 level 2 beasts will be able to make it. And we have Obedience Schooled, summon 3 beasts from your deck, which go right into it. A lot of your Racoon monsters here are focused on getting another beast on the board and allowing you to easily, as well as your Fabled monster, to easily go into that rank 2 monster. We do have other things here. Unicorn is in this deck and help lock out your opponents as well. We got the Melfi monsters in here and Melfi XYZ, so there's other things you can go into as well. So you're not just like locked down in this one play. But yeah, I'm really glad to see more of these beast decks come to the front and have some success here. I knew that there was definitely success to be had with some of these things. I'm glad to see more and more of them come out. I'm excited to see what else people are going to be able to do with this archetype going forward. Alright, next we have Stromberg. I am not a huge fan of Stromberg myself, but I know there are some big fans out there, so the actual Stromberg part of the deck with Grand Maju isn't much different from what we've seen in the past. I don't think there was actually a skill used with this deck, but it's kind of the same thing. You just banish all your cards, and Grand Maju comes out with gigantic attack points to punish your opponent. But what is different here than what we've seen in the past, what I've seen in the past, is using all these bug XYZs to sort of level up, along with the bug signal. Basically, you have a lot of level 3s in this deck. You're running the Psychic Tracker alongside them, and it's really easy to go into the Giga Brilliant, level up, and then if you have the Bug Signal, go into the rank 7 digital bug monster, which lets you basically lets you detach from it and destroy a monster on either side of the board during either player's turn. So great removal, great interruption. Really interesting way to go forward with this deck. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Stromberg myself, not that familiar with the deck, but yeah, if you're one of those fans, this might be a way to play the deck going forward. Again, there wasn't a skill listed, so I don't know what to do with that aspect of it, but you managed to take king games with this, so congratulations on that. Alright, and I mentioned the Synchron structure deck earlier. We have a few different versions of it to talk about here. If you don't know kind of what the main strategy with this deck is doing, so you start out with Junk Converter in your graves as a level 2 non-tuner, which is useful because you can then normal summon Junk Synchron and special summon the converter to the board. Synchro for 5, the converter's effect activates, bringing back the Junk Synchron, so you can Synchro for 8, go for Stardust, and then once Stardust is on the board, you activate your skill, put Formula Synchron on the board, and you can Synchro for 10 for Shooting Star Dragon. So really basic 1-card combo to go in the Shooting Star. All you need is Junk Synchron, and you already have your target in the graveyard, and you can search for it with the 3 converter that you actually start out with in your deck, so lots of ways to get to that. And what's really nice about that combo as well is that it puts 3 lights and darks in the grave. Doing that combo, you're going to put Junk Synchron, Junk Warrior, and the formula in the grave, so you have 2 darks and a light. You can immediately summon a Chaos Dragon Levineer and nuke or blow up a couple cards on your opponent's side of the board, and that is just extremely terrifying when you can drop a Shooting Star Dragon on someone and then follow up with a Chaos Dragon Levineer. Absolutely devastating. Running the search card for it. Also have the Lightsworn engine in here. Raiden is a tuner. You need a tuner to discard with converter to search your deck for Synchron, so you want to run a bunch of tuners to go along with it. Raiden fills that role. So does Jet Synchron. You also need 8 Junks or Synchron monsters in your main deck, so Jet Synchron helps fulfill that requirement. And you also need 4 Junks or Synchrons or Stardust in your extra deck. We have the 2 Junk Warrior Stardust and the Junk Destroyer here to fill out the requirements there as well. So also Tuning Gum, neat little thing with this card. If your opponent targets a monster or a Synchro monster inside of the board with it, you can banish this from your graveyard to negate that effect. Super powerful, and everyone always forgets about it. I forget about it when it's in my own graveyard, but really neat. I'm going to be doing a full video on this deck, this specific deck list later on today. Hopefully I'll have it out. Alright, and next we have another take on Synchrons. This one's not doing the same combo though. This one's actually focused on using the Valkyrie engine. So kind of the same effect though. You summon the Junk Synchron, bring it back, Synchro for 5. A couple different options here in level 5 department, but then the converter special summons the Junk Synchron back to the board, and you can Synchro for 8 and go for the Valkyrie plays. So it's just another way to sort of like just get started in that sense, get your level 8 Synchro out and start moving with your Valkyries and start building up that board. And it's neat to see that people are still experimenting with this deck, still finding ways to make Karakuri work, despite all the hits that they've had, despite the ban lists, the nerfs that this deck has gotten. Glad to see people still experimenting with this deck, without it being too overpowered, because this deck can certainly be really annoying. I know a lot of people do not like playing against Karakuri, but it is a really fun deck to play with, you know, going into all those synchro plays. Also ties that bind, helps you run over things, get over the blue eyes monsters once you flood your board, so yeah, not utilizing the shooting star skill the way that this deck is. So once again, shooting stars, same combo. Summon your Synchron, one card into shooting star dragon. But we also have quick draw Synchron here. Discard a card, special summon it to the board. Combined with Junk Converter, goes into more Synchron or more synchro plays. But we're also running as additional tuners the some of these, what do you call? Oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. The Shiranui tuners. We have Shiranui tuners in this deck and Shiranui Synchros monsters. We're running Zombie World as well. Zombie World can lock down some decks, take out some effects because you turn everything into zombies. So some decks will lose effects or abilities based off that alone, but you turn all your own monsters into zombie types, which gives you access to some other Synchro monsters as well. So interesting take on the deck here. Probably not the best way to play the deck, especially once we get tuning in what is it, like the next week or two. Tuning is going to change up how this deck runs completely. I'm sure we'll get a much better, much more optimized standard list once tuning comes out, because that card's just going to let you search for Junk Synchron. You're basically going to have 9 ways to search for your one card Shooting Star Dragon once that happens. So yeah, we'll get a much more optimized, better sort of idea of what this deck's going to look like once that happens. But in the meantime, a lot of different cool little neat ways to go about building the deck. I personally like the Lightsworn variant, but I you know me, I love my Chaos Monster. So, and speaking of Chaos Monsters, here's another deck using that I need to talk about this week. If you guys have not seen, there is I guess you could say, a new version of Thunder Dragon that's been running around this past week or so. It just won the Meta Weekly yesterday. Daniel yugioh, I believe is he on the top player cancel? I think he is. I could check that. But he also got top 8, I believe, in a Meta Freakly earlier this week as well. So he's been absolutely dominating with this deck this week. I think he also may have even won a yes, he is on a TPC. I think he may have also won a couple of small little like top 8 or those little 4-player or whatever $8 tournaments, those anytimes. So absolutely dominating with this deck this week. A couple other players doing so as well. What's different though is we're running Fiend Farewell instead of the skill. So Thunder Dragon had to move away from level dupe and all the other level skills, and instead resorted to mostly Allured by Darkness and some Destiny draw. But this time we're running Fiend Farewell, and what it does is whenever a monster on your side of the board gets destroyed by battle, you can send a random Fiend from your deck to the graveyard. But we're only running one Fiend here, and that's Chaos Betrayer. There's no Sphere Karibo in the deck. We have this Artifact Monster to replace that. Kind of a similar thing, special summon it to the board when your opponent attacks. But you send the Chaos Betrayer to the graveyard. It's your only Fiend in the deck. And when it's in grave, you can banish a light and a dark to special summon it to the board, which A, triggers all your Thunder Dragon effects, but also puts a level 6 on your board for those XYZ summons. So without the level dupe skills, all that stuff, it's more difficult to go into those rank 6 plays, but Chaos Betrayer helps make up for that. And it's not the only level 6, we're also running a 3 Triceraphor Terratops. I know I just totally butchered that name right there. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it again. That super annoying card that is unaffected by anything. That just sits there with that big old 2800 defense. You can't do anything to it. And some decks are just sitting there like, oh, I can't do anything. So yeah, that really annoying card. Yeah, we're running that as a 3 of here. Which is really annoying because you can also banish it with Gold Sarcophagus and add it back to hand with Lupine. It's really annoying. You basically like 5 ways to search it out. So yeah, and in addition to the Lupine, we also have another normal summon starter here, Batteryman Solar. Not quite as good as the Lupine. Summon it, send a Thunder Dragon from your deck to grave. Triggering effects, again, not as good, but another starter to go along with it. So you have 6 normal summon starters with this deck. It's absolutely annoying. You can also run the trap card with this deck and see that they've been making that decision here as well. So yeah, it's just really frustrating and annoying to see this version of it. I mean, Levianeer is already bad enough with all the other Thunder Dragon nonsense, but you're adding triple the Triceraphor Ceratops on there, and then a little bit more consistency with all these starters. Yeah, that's scary. And then here's the extra deck and the side deck as well. Untitled Ordinary here. Interesting that he's running the Trishula. fusion monster that got us board. Side deck and Destiny Draw also another interesting choice there, and triple DD Crows. So, but yeah, that's it for this week for all the spicy decks. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I said we'll have a video up on that Synchron deck hopefully later on today. And I do appreciate you guys for watching. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day.